Ready for this chapter? I know. I sure am. Okay. What are you trying to get at? Huh? Okay. Let's see here. Let's make sure everything's coming through. Okay, primary microphone. Yep, that's not right. Interesting. So I can't use... I wonder if that's something I need to add. Okay. I mean, it works for now. So, that's fine. I'll have to figure that out later. What is up? What is up? What is up? Today, I got a special guest. I've had her on a few times, you know, and I am ready for this insane chapter. I've heard really good things. I've kind of stayed spoiler free. I kind of have like the ideas of spoilers, nothing like concrete, if you will. So, we are gonna read this chapter together and have a great time doing it, right? Yeah, definitely. You're seeing yourself over there, aren't you? You're like, wow, that's me. All right. If you would like to follow along with the chapter, it is down. Dang it, I always do this. Down here in the corner. Yeah, you're looking too. Down here in the corner, and for TikTok, it is directly below me. So we are going to read the new chapter and see what kind of craziness comes from this. So, without further ado, let's get it at it. All right, we got chapter 1174, The Strongest Thing in the World. And it says, reader's request. Roger going on a walk with a Tyrannosaurus he tamed like a puppy. That's funny. He's got like the meat that he's sharing with the Tyrannosaurus Rex. And then on top of that, he has his hat on top of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's kind of cool. That's a cool cover. I like that reader request. That is a cool reader request. What's up? Are you trying to do crunches? No. Alright. Let's keep it rolling. Okay, we're going to go single panel. And Sommers goes, oh, that's bad. Stupid, stupid sleep tid. I lost the ship. First off, that was not the sleep tid's problem. I'm gonna keep it a buck. That was definitely a you issue. You were the one who smacked that thing directly towards the ship. What a dummy. And he goes, and I lost the sea clouds. He goes, this looks really bad for me. The power of the arrow is still active. The kids are gonna walk themselves right off the edge and splatter onto the mountainside below. Yeah, bro. You know what? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? Like, that's so ridiculous that he thought that that was a good idea. Insanity. Alright. So then he says, Gunko, stop the kids. Gunko, we need to pause the operation. And then he says, wait, that won't work. Great Emu is inside of her now. If I could just undo that arrow. And then it says, you see the giants attacking the arrow. And they're like, what's it made out of? We can't even scratch it. And then the kids are like, Mommy, Daddy, help. And then we see Summer say, it's pointless, you clowns. If you could stop it, I would have done so already. And then he says, wait, All those parents right at arm's length, unable to touch due to the thorns, and forced to witness their beloved children plummet to death. Oh no, he's gonna be like, this is amazing. This is wonderful. Oh yeah. And he did. And he says, now that's a deliciously depraved way to die. What a fucking ass. Oh my god, I hate him so much. And he's just like so happy by this thought. Really? Okay, whatever. And he's like, I think it's worth it. And if anyone's at fault here, the Great One is controlling Gunko's body. We can always march more kids over here. What are we talking about here? And he goes, call their names. Scream your family love. You scream your family love to the heavens. This is the real stuff. This is emotion. What a monster. And then we hear, ahem. Listen up, all you brats and PTA members. We were planning to have you taken safely and smoothly to the Holy Land, but due to an unforeseen accident, we seem to have lost the ship and the sea clouds it rests upon. And it says, and this means you will be reaching your goal. It says, huh? There's nothing there. Via the tragic conclusion of falling to your deaths. And they're like, huh? It says, if we keep walking, we're gonna fall off. It says, there's no way I'll let them keep going, even if I have to give up my arms to do it. And he just goes and tries to grab someone, one of the kids, and this is Grandpa Oimo. And then it says, oh, I'm afraid there's nothing you can do. And then Killingham's like, what does Summer think he's doing? It took forever to get those kids to the port. Interesting. Let's see here. I don't know. I kind of dig Killingham's hybrid form. It's kind of cool. Some people don't like it. I don't know. No. Okay, well, hopefully it solves itself. No. No. Okay, here we go. Then we see Oimo, and he says, damn it. Arg. And it says, ow. Stop it, Grandpa Oimo. That hurts. And he, like, lets go, and he says, I'm sorry, kids. Forgive me. And the rest of the parents, right? Crazy. And the rest of the parents say, like, Oimo. And then he says, huff, huff. That settles it. As long as that arrow doesn't disappear, there's no way to stop the children for sure. And it says, so we can't save them anymore? And the parents are like, oh no. And it says, all we can do is helplessly watch our children plummet off the edge before our eyes. If they fall into the underworld, we'll never even find their bodies. And someone says, curse you, foul demons. And Sommers is laughing like a doucher. And then we see the kids. Man, this is sick, dude. Sick. It says, I think heaven is punishing me for doing bad things. And they're like, huh? It says, that's what they said when I got scolded too. And then someone said, me too. I wish I'd been a good boy. And Colin says, so we're all going to die because we were naughty? And then it says, no, I don't wanna. I'll be a good girl, I swear. And then they all start yelling out, help us. Spare our lives. I'm sorry. And just the worst person ever. Sommers is just loving it. And then Colin says, I won't be bad anymore. And says, remember when you're a bad boy, the sun god is watching. And then it says, Colin says, yeah, but I won it in a duel, so it's mine now. And it looks like a little plush of Emmett, which is actually really funny. Um, and then we see the other parents talking to their kids. Well, we see Ripley still, and she says, oh, good input. It says, if you're that strong, you should be gentler to the weak. Now go apologize. And then the other girl's crying, and it says, why did you leave so much on your plate? Do you hate my cooking that much? And then the little kid says, but the carrots. And then she's like, hey, don't take your father's sword out again. And then they're like, all basically showing all the bad moments they were bad. And it says, I hate you, Grandpa. You're a barbaric pirate. Is that funny? Is that funny? Huh? And then it says, why did you lie to me again? How can I keep you safe if you won't be truthful with me? And then we see, why did you bring that to school? I forgot my homework on purpose because I didn't do it. Jeez. And then Colin says, wah, I don't want to die. Mommy. And then all of a sudden Ripley's at the end and she says, she like comes in and they say, he's like, huh? And then she's like, Colin. She hugs. She hugs. Wow, this is crazy. She hugs Colin and says, come here, baby. And she says, I'm sorry I wasn't able to stop you, but... And Colin says, get away from me, Mommy. You're gonna die. And she says, I don't care. I won't let you die alone. Oh, and then we got a double spread. And she grabs Colin, and all the other parents start grabbing their kids. And they all are falling off together. And they all say, Mama, Mommy, Grandpa, Mother, Ma. And Sommers is just cackling. And one of the kids says, don't worry, everyone. I'm sure we'll turn out just fine. And they all start falling. And she says, right, everyone? We'll survive, right? And then all of a sudden, one of the guys grabs Ranja. And he says, I heard you earlier. You were so brave. And she says, Father? And then another one grabs Bent. And he says, Mommy? And says, what's the scariest thing in the world? And he says, my mama. And he says, I'm sorry. I said you were scary. And she's like, that's fine, darling. Sometimes mama needs to be scary to keep you safe. And all these kids are crying and says they're also lucky they have parents to hug them. And then we see Ange run up and says, I can be like a mother to you. And she says, but you're not my mother. And Ange comes up and grabs Johanna. And She says, Miss Ange. It says, don't show up at school. I'm embarrassed to have a nerd for a brother. And Roto says, I will try my best to hide my nature. And then he says, it's heavenly punishment. And you see Roto running, and he says, ultra rare Bjorn. And he like jumps and grabs Bjorn. And he goes, it doesn't hurt. And he says, big brother. And then we see Sommers laughing. And it says, look at that, like scraps of garbage plunging down into hell. It makes my heart tremble. Oh, what a saga of emotions. It could have been just 10 measly brats if they only stood back and watched. And Summer says, stupid mothers, stupid fathers, martyrs for love. Oh, I've got a stitch in my side. Such poignant, pointless death. What a fucking monster. What an absolute terror of a human being. If you can even call him that. And then, oh, this thing got messed up. Hold on. I have to reload the page here. It got all funny. Okay. Then we see they land on something. They're like, huh? And Ripley's like, Colin, where are we? And Colin says, I don't know, but everyone's alive. And someone's like, oof. And they're like, Mommy. And they're like, it's a gum tummy cracker. Now you're poking me. It says, so get off already. It says, Luffy? Huh? It says, listen up. Once we're up there, I need you to get off my back at once. It'll prevent me from fighting. It says, you're back? It says, they just started falling out of nowhere. Good thing we were passing by. And then it says, it's not a good thing. I'm a destroyer. And it says, now here goes. I won't guarantee that anyone survives. It says, snow? What's it snowing for? Thunder? It says, hey, what's that? The whole tree is rippling. And it says, what's this rhythm? Elbaf itself is shaking. And it says, an exceedingly rare day when lightning and snow combine. A vast beast will blanket the sky with its presence. And with the sound of the drums of liberation. Oh, shit. Are you ready for this? We're about to see peak. And then it says, the sun god. And then you see Luffy on top of what looks to be a dragon. And you see Ragnar riding him as well. And it says, the sun god. And Luffy says, I just can't get over how huge you are. Will appear. Wow. Interesting. Alright, we got NYC. And he says, yo, he is not a dragon. That is a silhouette. He's a god that can change between different animals. That's why we haven't seen the nameplate of the devil fruit yet. That may be. That may be. It is interesting because, I mean, that would really, I mean, it would really kind of fit Broker's theory of him being like a chimera, being able to switch between different Zoan fruits. But even if it was just like a different shape shifting animal, that would be interesting too. But I mean, even if he is a dragon, that's a tough ass dragon. It might just be perspective, but it would be funny if like Luffy turned into his giant form just to seem like he was big enough to ride like Loki. And myth if he's a shapeshifter. Yeah, he would definitely be a mythical. I mean, he's a mythical probably either way cuz like, you know. So, I don't know. It could be very interesting. But man, he's something. What? Why don't you just lay back? Take a load off. I mean, but he's not even awake and no scarf. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to see just because like his back is kind of like half covered. But I mean, if he's just a straight up Zoan, I mean, he could just be in his regular Zoan form, and then when he awakens, it could be different altogether. Like we've seen that Lucci awakens, but when he fought the pacifistas or the Seraphim with Luffy, he just went regular Zoan form. So like he might have it in the bag. He just probably isn't gonna whip it out first thing. And we don't really know, like, cause like usually like an awakened form is like closer to a hybrid. He wouldn't have fit in the castle. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, that would be crazy though if he straight up, and I mean straight up, uh like got the fruit and awakened it right away, like against his dad. That would be the most insane shit ever to me. Cause it's like this dude is on a whole nother level. That means like his mind and body were already where they needed to be for the devil fruit to awaken, and that'd be the first time like it would have, you know. What? Is that funny? Um, but then again, like the castle itself is pretty big too, because I mean, Harold is a big person, Loki's a big person, and it dwarfed them in size. So, and maybe he just went hybrid form. That's my point. He would only have the dragon form if that was it. Yeah, no, I mean, he's definitely got a hybrid form. I mean, he could have transformed into the dragon straight up, and then he could have went straight to hybrid form when he was fighting his dad. It wouldn't fit. I mean, from what we're seeing right now, yes, that the dragon reaches the sky realm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely big. Like it's bigger than all the sleep tids by a gigantic, by a big margin. I'm almost wondering if he can control the size of it. So, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. But I mean, this is definitely This is one hell of a panel. This is one hell of a panel. Like, this is a really cool panel. What? What? What do you need? Huh? Oh. There you go. I think it's really great that Loki was the one that saved the kids. Yo, what is up? It's so crazy because this just really showcased, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, they put a lot of emotional impact into this chapter, and it felt so short because we were just like going through all the emotional impact. Yes. Of this, like the parents being this, going through these emotions. Your baby is so cute. You hear that? You just got called cute. You are so cute. Thank you. She's very adorable. She reads all the chapters with me. Well, most of them. We're also rewatching One Piece together, even though she probably won't remember it. We'll rewatch it again when you're old enough to remember. But the emotional impact, I mean, me especially, like, obviously, being a new parent, like all of these moments, like with Ripley and all these other parents, grandparents, even just people that are significant in other people's lives. Sorry, bro, I have an exam, so I have to go. Hey, man, I appreciate you tuning in. Please like the stream if you haven't already. And I will catch you on the next one because we got a break week after this. But thank you so much for stopping by, man. Appreciate you. Just like the emotional impact of these moments from Ripley and all these parents. And what I loved so much is they really highlighted this moment because Johanna doesn't have anyone. Like, that was the whole, they even brought this up chapters ago. Before the what was I gonna say? Before the flashback. That's what I was trying to say. Like, they had this whole thing where, Johanna didn't have anybody. She didn't have a parents and stuff like that. And the fact that, like, Ange, the teacher, like, loved her that much. Yes. Is that a delicious hand? The fact that Ange loved her so much and was like the teacher, because like whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, right, like teachers are the people that care about our kids probably next to us, like they grow, they bond with these kids, in meaningful ways throughout the year, and it makes them love them. They, like, I know for, like, personally, my wife is a teacher and she loves her kids. She talks about her kids all the time. Yes, I know. That fist must be so yummy. What? Hey, I got something for you. How about that? Oh, it's actually right here. How's this? Is that better? Then you don't have to jam your fist down your throat? But it's just like, the teachers are, caring, loving individuals that want to see these kids succeed. And, and they just love these moments with these kids, they love to see them succeed, you know, and they care about them as if they were their own, you know, sometimes. And if they don't care about them like they're their own, they care about them a lot, you know. It's just something that's very special, and you know, and not only did they capture like grandparents, parents, and then like special people in your lives like teachers, they also had like the sibling love with Rodo coming in for Bjorn and stuff like that. Like these are all really incredible relationships, and they're showcasing them all in really great ways. So it's like I love that they did this. I hear you. You know, and I love this chapter. I did. Like, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just like the parental, you know, thing. Like I really enjoyed this because this to me showcased one how sadistic Sommers is. He's willing to fail his fucking mission just to fucking enjoy this moment. How crazy is that? To like we've seen when what happens if you fail missions consistently, and Sommers, to my understanding, hasn't had a successful one yet. He didn't bring back Shanks. He didn't bring back um he didn't, you know, he's not going to bring these kids back, right? In his mind at least, you know, he isn't going to, I mean, he wasn't even successful at the hunting competition. That was years ago. I mean, I don't know how many missions this dude's done successfully, to be honest. And like he's willing to accept the possibility that Emu is going to punish him, all because he loves how sadistic this is. And that's crazy. That's an insane characterization of celestial dragons. We already knew they were messed up. We already knew they suck, you know, but this is just like that next level. Um so I mean it really, I don't know, to me showcases something really crazy for them. Um but yeah, I absolutely adore this chapter. This is a really great one. Like yeah, like this whole thing of like him totally fucking this up. We'll just run through this chapter one more time. Um, and him just being just terrible at his job basically. Um, and then you know, watching the parents do this and him being so sadistic with it and even killing him is like, what does Sommers think he's doing? It took forever to get those kids to the port, and he's just gonna let this happen. And like all this stuff is happening, the kids are going over like, "Oh, I'll never be bad again." Well, this is heavenly retribution, you know. Oimo's willing to put his hands, you know, on the thorns just to, you know, just to try and stop his, you know, his granddaughter, you know, and all this stuff. And then just the Ripley like waiting at the end of the pier basically just to be like, I'm not, you're not gonna die alone. I won't let you. Um, and her just being there with them, and them all just taking a tumble while Sommers is just giggling in glee. Like I need it. I need it more than anything. I need Sanji to just absolutely mangle this man. I need him to destroy him, and I need him to eviscerate him. You know, like I said, I love the sibling stuff. I love the like, you know, the found family, the teacher who cares about her students so much, you know, like all of this stuff. And, you know, Sommers just being so gleeful and laughing, and then just, you know, them just getting caught, and then and then being like, "Yo, when we get up there, I need you to get off me like real quick, like because I need to be able to fight. And the snow, the thunder, which is like very much like Ragnar esque. Obviously, we saw Ragnar when it struck Harold and the tree branch. It was lightning, but then when struck the Draugr, um, it froze it. So like the snow and ice, it kind of reminds me of like a wyvern. Um, like sometimes there's like frost wyverns and stuff like that that shoot like ice and stuff like that. So railing in this theory today for tomorrow. Okay, yeah, send me what your theory's about, and I'll look it over and I'll see um, if I can help out with it. I do have plans for a brunch with my wife right after this, and then I have a few other things that I have to do today. But I'll try and look at it and try and help you sure it up for tomorrow, if you're able. Um, but yeah, I'll look at it if you send it through Discord. Um, and just like this whole thing of like Yarul being like, what's this rhythm? Elbaf itself, or someone being like, Elbaf itself is shaking. And it says, on an exceedingly rare day, when lightning and snow combine, a vast beast will blanket the sky with its presence. And it says, and with the sound of the drums of liberation. And then that's when Summers is like, huh? And then you can tell Emu takes notice in the corner. And then just like the reveal of this, just being like, the sun god will appear. And the fact that Luffy's laughing and is like, I just can't get over how huge you are, is just so cool. Listen, I would love that. I would love if he's able to use the elements. So far, I mean, as far as Yarul, what he said is like snow and lightning, so like ice and lightning, which is a pretty fucking cool combination. Um, it says also he will be able to transform into an animal from each realm's environment. That would be cool. I would like that because like there's so many like if he turned into like a giant serpent, for the world serpent, and there's so many different Norse mythology animals that he could turn into. That would be so sick. And that to me screams guardian deity of Elbaf because their whole thing is based on Norse mythology. So I like it. Um, but yeah, I mean, overall, to me, this chapter, especially the reveal at the end. I mean, even up to that point, I mean, the emotional stakes were there and everything else. Like, there was so much going on to the point where I was like, this is great. I love this, you know? So to me, this chapter, I mean, I would say this is like a 9.5, so somewhere in there, because to me, and again, like I said, this is just my personal opinion. The emotional stakes that happen there with the parents and everything, I mean, obviously it hits close to home, for me, and it it definitely is one of those things that just like it felt amplified by like the stakes and everything that happened, and seeing Loki, the person who was demonized by Elbaf for so long, be the one to save all of the kids and the parents, and to rescue them, to then do this, is just it's a chef's kiss moment. It really is. Like this is a really great chapter. I really enjoyed this for a lot of reasons. But yeah, that's just my thoughts, and you can disagree with it because like if the emotional weight wasn't there for you, I wouldn't you know I wouldn't hold it against you. It's just For me, it felt like a really good chapter. It says Luffy can use lightning, but Luffy is going to be able to use all the elements of each god fruit. We see him use ice also. Also, the fact Loki calls Shanks a coward, that parallel of Rock's calling Harold a coward is awesome. When have we seen Luffy use ice? I feel like we haven't seen that. I don't remember a time where Luffy used ice. I mean, he's been turned to ice by Aokiji. You'll have to let me know. But yes, I also like that Loki called Shanks a Carol, uh, paralleling Rocks calling Harold a coward. I love Loki. I love Loki as a character. I think that he is top tier as far as character and growth and just overall. Love to see it. But yeah, so those are my thoughts. You know, against Kaido. When did he use ice against Kaido? He used lightning. It snuck by. Are you talking about like the moment where he uses red rock and like all like in the what was it? Yeah, are you talking about in the anime where he uses red rock against Kaido and knocks him on the ground and then like he hits the ground and then you see like the ice shatter? Yeah, send me the clip. Um but yeah. Um it's definitely one of those, really good chapters, especially to go on a break week. Somebody fell asleep. Especially to go to on a break week because there's just a lot to process here. There's going to be so many people theorizing about this, um, and I love this, you know, this whole moment of he also used this. Yep. Listen, one, yeah, but that was from the heat of Red Rock. When he hits him with Red Rock, there's like flames around it, and that was like the whole point because there was like snow covered, and then the heat from it like melts it enough that the air on top of Onigashima freezes it, and it cracks from like the pressure. Like it's not like he didn't use an ice attack. It's not like Brook or anything like that. But that's how we saw Loki use it. That's not true at all. Because when he hits that Draugr, he hits it and it turns into an icicle. And again, that's just the anime. That was like just for looks. That doesn't happen in the manga. But Kaido himself didn't turn to ice. Like again, if you look at the panels in the manga, that ice is not there. It's not present. And it's just like the dramatic effect of like it being cold on top of Onigashima and like the heat from Red Rock. Not how science works. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's exactly how science works. If you were to take something hot and you were to use it on snow, and then the wind from where you were at temperature wise were to then freeze the top layer of the snow, it would freeze. Like because of it being like, if you did this in the Alps and you took a blowtorch to it, some snow, and then you stop the blowtorch, it would freeze. But again, like I'm saying, like that was for dramatic effect that the anime did. That was not manga canon at all when it comes to, Luffy using ice. If like we saw Luffy like punch someone and they were to turn into ice, like an icicle, like similar to how like Brook when he like hits someone with like his arrow notch slash and uh you know when he does that and they literally turn into ice, like that's way different than what happened. But I mean, who knows? We could see Luffy use ice. I'm not saying that it's not a possibility. I'm just saying that instance, it was not that. I saw someone, Kaido also using Conk, the Draugr was not. I mean, what does that have to do with, like, but, like, Luffy was actively using Red Rock, which is a fire based move. I'm not going to deny that Luffy can use lightning and fire. We've seen it on panel in the anime. That's something that is legitimate. Um, but yeah, what do you mean no sound detected? Um, but yeah, no, I think this chapter was really great. I uh, I really liked it a lot, and it's definitely something that is going to be cooking for the next week or so while we wait for 1175 because I'm sure 1175 is probably going to hit the ground running with some pretty cool stuff. Now, granted, we might also cut back to like Zoro, Sanji, the Straw Hats, and stuff like that. But I really hope we capitalize on this moment of like having, you know, uh, like Loki come out in this dragon form and see what he can do from here. Um, so I would say that this is in like you know, I would say that this is a really great cliffhanger chapter, especially just like us seeing this big dragon at the end, you know, and even Luffy being like, "Yo, you're huge." And granted, Luffy looks decent sized on his back, but like I said, it would be interesting to see because like we also don't know how big Ragnar is. Um, but Luffy almost looks like he went into his giant form just to be able to be on top of Ragnar. That would that would nod him to ice if he was using conquerors. If anything would have turned to glass, heat on sand and instant cold. Yes, but there wasn't sand on top of Onigashima. Like the whole point of it was like snow covered up top, like on the mountaintops, because like high altitudes get that. They usually are cold enough that snow and precipitation just turn, is snow and so on and so forth. But like the fact that there was already snow present and he like hit Kaido with a big fire attack and the heat re- um, reverberated off of Kaido, melted the top layer of snow, and then turned it into ice because of how cold it was, and then it cracked in accordance. You know, it definitely, and again, it's just anime. So, like, it didn't happen in the manga. So, I don't think that we've ever seen Luffy use ice. I'm going to stand on that. But it could change. I'm open for the change. Um, he might see Loki use ice, and be like, yo, I wonder if I could do that. And he might learn to do it off rip. So, but yeah, no, it was such a good chapter though. And um, yeah, I'll hit you up via Discord. Um, and it was such a good chapter, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys did too. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Please subscribe if you haven't. Hit my link tree if you can. Follow me on other platforms. It'd be cool. Um, but yeah, this was an incredible chapter. Really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're watching this after the fact, or even just right now. Um, and I will get back to you for sure. I love talking One Piece. I say it every time. One Piece is better as a conversation, and I love having that conversation with you guys. But yeah, I'm super stoked for this next chapter already, and I know that I gotta wait a week. So um, I will see you guys probably then. There's definitely gonna be some. There's a theory that I'm working on. I talked to NYC about it last week, and I'll probably try and get on TOPT's live stream, call in stream to give my theory. So hopefully you guys can go over there and check that out as well. I'll probably also make just like a theory video on on TikTok and YouTube and put it out there. So thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you guys for always supporting. And I will see you guys next time. And this one